Good morning, students. My name is CHSV Prasad Rao, Senior Lecturer in Electrical and Electronics Engineering, Government Polytechnic, Yadargutta. Today we will see AC motors chapters. That is chapter 1, that is synchronous motor. In the last class, what we covered? In the last class, we covered what is a AC motor. Anyone can tell what is AC motor? AC motor is a motor which works on AC supply and it converts electrical energy into mechanical energy. It has a very wide range of applications. So AC motor is a machine which converts electrical energy into mechanical energy. So what are the classification? That means how we can divide the classification. That means depending on the operation. If you see the take the principle of operation. So what are the types we covered last class? That is synchronous motor and asynchronous motor. So what is synchronous motor? Synchronous motor is a motor which works at synchronous speed. Asynchronous motor is a motor which works on variable speed. Again, synchronous motors are two types: plain motor and super motor. And asynchronous motors are induction motor and commutator motor. So what is synchronous motor? A motor is a constant speed motor and can be operated at a wide range of power factor. That is, it can be operated at any lagging power factor or leading power factor. Whereas asynchronous motor, that is induction motor, is a variable speed motor which works on lagging power factor only. And where we will use this synchronous motor, induction motor, they are used in industries. And so that is the classification depends on the principle of operation, that is synchronous and motor and asynchronous motor. If you see the another classification which is covered in the last class, that is the depending on the speed. So how that means speed. Speed is that is speed classification is a constant speed motor. That means it will run at only uh, synchronous speed only. And next one is variable speed. That means we will design the motor so that we can change the speed. So how we can change the speed? Either by changing the number of poles or frequency. So we will make some frequency is not possible to change. Why? Because it has special arrangement is required, some thyristor control arrangement is required, so it takes so much cost. So what we can do another way is at the time of designing only we can design so that we, if it is connected, we can put the terminals outside. If you connect between these two terminals 1 and 2, it will contains, it is connected to two poles and the speed will be changes. If you connect between supply is 1 and 3, then the number of poles is 4, then automatically its speed changes. And the terminal is, suppose if you connect at 1 and 4, automatically the poles, number of poles is 6, automatically speed changes. So that means it's a speed changes. So we will design like that. This arrangement we can do at the time of manufacturing only, at the time of designing the winding. So at that time we design like that, we can change the poles also. That is either 2 pole or 4 pole or 6 pole. And so another one is adjustable speed. So we can adjust the speed also. So another one is variable speed. That means if you apply the load, the motor speed changes. That means depending on the speed variation, we can make it as a constant speed motor, variable speed motor, and adjustable speed motor. Constant speed motor, that is designed only by at one particular poles. It's not possible to change the poles, and the motor runs at a synchronous speed, that is rated speed only. And adjustable speed means we would design the at the time of designing only we design the winding like that for 2 poles, for 4 poles, for 6 poles. That means suppose with two terminals, if we connect the supply between two terminals, we will get 2 poles, and we will get one type of speed. If we connect between another terminals, we will get 4 poles, and its speed is different. Suppose if we connect between another terminals, the speed is 6, the poles are 6, and it is changed. That means adjustable speed. So another one is a variable speed. So that means suppose if we apply the load, automatically its speed changes according to the load. And the one is type of current. That means another classical type of the current. That is either it is a single phase or it is a three phase. The single phase motor means it will work on single phase supply only. Next one is three phase motor. That means it work on three phase supply only. It contains three phases and they are connected to three phase. So suppose if you connect small motor 1 HP, 2 HP, that will work for a single phase. If you go for a large motor, that is 10 HP, 15 HP, three phase supply is required. So, and the thing is, once if we, the designing also made at the time of construction only we will check either it is work on single phase or three phase. So depending on that one, we will design the winding also, stator winding and the rotor winding. Suppose if you want to use this on a single phase, the phase of the stator and the rotor also single phase. Suppose if you are designed for a three phase, the motor has to run at a three phase supply. So automatically uh, the three winding must be changed, that is connected to the three phase. Single phase means it contains two wires only, that is phase and neutral. Three phase supply means it contains three phases, that is R Y B. Red phase, red wire, Y yellow, blue B is blue. So that means the between the lines the voltage is 440 volts, whereas single phase the voltage is 230 volts. So depending on the current, so we will design either a single phase or three phase. So next classification is structure. Either structure. So depending on the structure, either we can divide as open synchronous motor or closed synchronous motor or semi-closed synchronous motor. That means depending on the where we are using. So that circumstance also comes into category. So depending on that one also, so how much voltage required, how much power is required, how much current, how much torque, what is the speed, depending all these factors, we can do the structure also. Either it is open type, closed type, or semi-closed type. So another one is depending on the location. Either it is a surface motor or submersible motor. So suppose if you use a motor to lift the water uh, from the earth, then what we will the motor will be kept inside the earth. So that is the bore motor, that is called submersible motor, which is there inside the earth and in the water. Surface motor means it is there on the surface of the motor. So these are the classification of the AC motor. That is AC motors are classified depending on the principle of operation and speed and type of connection, and depends on the structure and depends on the location. So depending all these factors, we can decide the classification of the motors. And next what we covered comparison of the synchronous and asynchronous motor. So what is synchronous motor? A synchronous motor is a constant speed motor and can be operated under a wide range of power factor, that is both at lagging and leading. Whereas asynchronous motor means that means the motor which speed is variable speed and it can be operated at only one power factor, that is lagging power factor. So that is the main difference between synchronous and asynchronous motor. But these two motors, synchronous asynchronous motor, can be used for industries. So asynchronous motors means commutator motors and induction motors. These are used for the manufacturing of large industries, whereas commutator motor are used in domestic applications, offices, workshops, and business. And they are used for space vehicles, aircrafts, business machines, and power tools also. That comes into the category of commutator motors. So depending on these are the difference between synchronous motor and asynchronous motor. So next one is advantages, and what we covered the advantages and disadvantages also. So what is the advantages of synchronous motor? So advantages are it is a constant speed motor. It is work on only at a constant speed. And another advantage is it can be work as both lagging and leading power factor. The power factor is change. We can change the power factor at a uh, power factor can be changed both lagging and leading. And another thing is not only lagging and leading, we can operate at a unity power factor also. These are the advantages of synchronous motor. And we cover disadvantages also. What is the disadvantage of synchronous motor? It is not a self-starting motor. That means it is we can make it self-starting, but we have to use some external motors or pony motors, AC motor or DC motor, or we have to some compensating winding to make the synchronous motor self-starting. So when we use some other means, then automatically, then what happens? It cost also increases, and we require both the supply AC and DC supply. So another thing is construction becomes complicated, and we required more skilled persons to start and operate the synchronous motor. It is not like that other motors. Just we can switch on the motor and the motor starts. For that one, we require the skilled persons also. So that is the another disadvantages of synchronous motor. And another problem is it provides the hunting. What is the meaning of hunting? When it produce, hunting will produce when the load is varying, when the speed is changes. Either if speed is load is varying load, then what happens? The speed changes. Suddenly it will increase or suddenly it will decrease. Or the supply frequency is pulsating. So because of this hunting phenomena, then what happened? So how the motor is running at synchronous speed when the both rotating rotor poles and the stator magnetic poles magnetic lock each other, it will run at a synchronous speed. So if you have hunting, then what happens? It will comes out of the synchronism and the motor stops. So hunting is also one disadvantages of this synchronous motor, that will produce only synchronous motor. And next one we covered applications of synchronous motor. What are the applications of synchronous motor? It will be run at a constant speed. So because of that one, we can use that one in industries, and it will used as a synchronous condenser. So what is the meaning of synchronous condenser? It is used to improve the power factor of a industry. If you go to industry, what we have? Industry we have only induction motors, large induction motors which are connected to the bus bar, which are connected to the bus bar. Then automatically, then what happened when we connect to the bus bar? The overall power factor of the plant is reduces. So when the power factor of the plant is reduces, then what happened? The real power, apparent power, which is of the plant will be changes, and it draws more power from the supply. Then what happens? Other users which are connected to that line will be affected. Their power supply will be affected. They will get what they will get low supply or power fluctuations. So because of that one, their equipment, domestic appliances equipment will be spoiled, or if it is a industry which is connected to the same bus bar, it is not going to uh, run the motor because of low voltage. So that's why what the electricity will design for a what they will do, they will put one more meter for industry, that is called the power factor meter. In domestic we have what we have meters, we have only energy meter. So it energy meter, what it will do, it will calculate the energy what we consumed. But in for industry they have the energy meter, how much amount of energy consumed, and the power factor meter also. So automatically when the power factor reduces, its tariff also reduces, how much power factor reduced. And electricity department will put more amount of the tariff changes, and they will put more amount for electricity bill. So what the industry will do, they will connect in parallel with the synchronous motor, which is running at a leading power factor. Then what happened? The overall power factor of the plant is improves. Suppose from 0.8, it reduced to 0.7. When they connect the synchronous motor with leading power factor in parallel with the bus bar, automatically its power factor improves from 0.7 to 0.8, like that. So that is, it is called synchronous condenser. It is used to improve the power factor, improve the power factor. So uh, so that's why it is, that is the another application of the synchronous motor. So these are the things we covered in the last class. Today we will check what is rotating magnetic field. What is rotating magnetic field? How it is produced? Where it is produced? What is the purpose of this rotating field? So all these things we can cover today, and how it is produced, and generation of three-phase rotating magnetic field. This one also we are going to cover today, and mathematical proof for rotating magnetic field. So, what is rotating magnetic field, how it is produced, and generation of rotating magnetic field, and the mathematical expression, what is the resultant magnetic field, that one also we can cover today. So, generation of rotating magnetic field. So, suppose for a synchronous motor, that is a three-phase motor, as we know, we require a three-phase supply. So, three-phase supply is connected to the three phases of a synchronous motor. Three phases. So when three phase distributed winding, so how the windings is there? The windings are there at 120 degrees apart. That means the angle between R and Y phase 120 degrees, the angle between Y and B is 120 degrees, and the angle between R and B is 120 degrees. That means all phases are 120 degrees apart and excited by a three-phase supply. When it is connected to a three-phase supply, it produces a rotating magnetic field. Rotating magnetic field, and it produces a resultant rotating magnetic flux in the space, that is the space between rotor and the stator gap space. Actually magnetic poles were being rotated mechanically. So that means when the rotating magnetic field is produced, automatically because of that rotating magnetic field, the rotor poles starts rotating. So that is called the rotating magnetic field. How the rotating magnetic field is produced? When a three-phase supply is given connected to the three-phase winding, then it produces a rotating magnetic field. So how it is connected? If you see here, it is a three-phase supply. So S1 is the starting, S2 is the finishing. See here, S1, S2, S3 are starting windings. Starting one phase starting. S2 is another phase starting. S3 is another phase starting. S1 and F1 starting winding of phase 1, finishing winding of another line. Similarly, S2 is the starting winding of second phase 2, and F2 finishing winding of the another terminal. Similar starting winding of third phase and finishing winding of the third phase. So they are connected like this, R, Y, B. So these are S1, S2, S3, all are at 120 degrees apart. They are connected like this. See here, it is a three-phase line. Now we are able to tell which type of connection it is. In the last class, I told if it has three wires, three supply wires, then it is a delta connection. If it has a four wires, then it is a star connection. This is R, Y, B. And this one is a black one is a neutral. If you see here, all the returning parts, this is S1. S1 is connected to R phase, that is red phase. S2 is connected to yellow, Y. S3 is connected to the blue, that is the blue phase. And all the finishing terminals F1, F2, F3 are connected to the neutral of this terminal. So that means all the finishing terminals are connected to the neutral. So it is connected in star connection. These are the lines and line, and this one is the neutral. So this is the how the winding it is connected to the stator. If you see here, this is the stator, this is the stator frame, and it has the slots at the inner side, inner periphery. It has the slots. In these slots they are connected the windings. These winding also connected for a three phase, and they will produce and they will connect according to the poles. How much poles you require? Either you require two pole, three pole, two pole or four pole or six pole. They are even number of poles. So they are designed like that. But winding is for a three phase. These are the slots on the inner periphery of the stator winding. So when we connect the supply, what is produced? When you connect the supply, it produces the rotating magnet, it produces the magnetic field. So this is pi r, that is this magnetic flux is produced because of the R phase current, and Y yellow, this flux is produced because of the Y phase, and B phase is produced because of the blue phase. So that is R, Y, B. And what is the maximum voltage for all these one? The maximum voltage is same. The maximum voltage is same for everything, that is pi m. That is the maximum flux. That is the R phase flux, Y phase flux, and B phase flux. This is the flux drawn between phase angle and the magnitude of the flux. So if you see here, the R phase is started at an angle of 0 degrees, and when the Y phase is started, the Y phase is started after 120 degrees. So that what is the phase difference between R and Y? The phase difference between R and Y is 120 degrees. See here, if you take the phase R as a reference vector, so pi r, the equation is the pi r is equal to pi m, the maximum flux, and it is a sinusoidal waveform, that is called sine theta. It is started at 0 degrees, that's why we can take sine theta. So the flux pi r is equal to maximum flux into sine theta. So if you take the Y phase, where it is started, you can see here, it is started at 120 degrees. So after, so here we will take one phase as a reference. We will take our phase as a reference. Then now what happened? The pi y is equal to maximum flux sine of theta minus 120 degrees. Theta minus 120 degrees. That means it is started after 120 degrees. Theta minus 120. So theta minus 120. It is a sinusoidal. So that's why we written sine. What is the maximum flux for this one? This one also same. That is pi m. Sinusoidal as sine. Theta is the angle. When it started, the first difference after 180 degrees. That's why theta minus 120 degrees. The Y phase started after 120 degrees. That's why we can say theta minus 120 degrees. Next, if you see the B blue phase, so either pi b is started where it is started. If you see this is the starting, it is started after 240 degrees. That is from pi r. So if you see the phase angle between B and R, it is 240 degrees. And if you see the angle between Y and B, flux Y and B, it is again 120 degrees. But if you compare, as I told at the starting only, we have to take one phase as a reference. We taken pi r as a reference. So at the time it is a 240 degrees. So the flux pi b is equal to maximum flux. What is the maximum flux? Pi m only. The magnitude for all the phases is same. Why? Because all they are connected to the same supply, three-phase supply, and the current is same, the flux produced is same, so the maximum flux is same. And which type of flux? This is a sinusoidal. That's why we can write sine at an angle 90 theta minus 240. After 240 degrees, it is produced. That's why we can say it is started after, that is sine theta minus 240. I think you can understand this how this flux are represented. The pi r is started at 0 degrees. So that's why, and it is a sinusoidal wave, and the maximum flux is pi m. So the pi r flux is equal to pi m sine theta. And if you taken this pi wave as a reference, it is also sinusoidal, and the maximum flux is pi m. But where it is started? It is started after 120 degrees. So pi y is equal to pi m into sine theta minus 120. If you come for B phase, pi b is equal to, it is started where it is started? It is started after 240 degrees, but is a sinusoidal wave, and the maximum flux is pi m. So pi b is equal to pi m into sine theta minus 240. So by seeing this waveforms also, we can say each phase, the phase angle between R and Y is 120 degrees, between Y and B is 120 degrees, and between R and B is 240 degrees. According to that one, we written the flux equations. Pi r is equal to pi m sine theta, pi y is equal to pi m sine theta minus 120, and pi b is equal to pi m into sine theta minus 240. So these are the flux representation for R, Y, B, red, yellow, blue. These are the flux representations for these uh, three-phase induction motor. I think it is clear for everyone. This is the equations how we written. So let us see the vectors. This is a pi r. As I told, the pi r is at 0 degrees. That's why we written it at 0 angle. And next pi y. Pi y, where it is the angle? It is 120 degrees. That's why we written pi m sine theta minus 120. The angle between pi r and pi y is 120. And after that, we produced B. That means it is, if you calculate the between R and B, it is 240 degrees, 120 and 120. We are taking the pi r as the reference. So pi b is started, the flux pi b is started after 120 when pi r is started. That means the angle between pi b and pi r is 240 degrees, like this. That's why we write theta minus 240 degrees. So if you see this is the vector diagram for a three phase. So that means the angle between R phase and Y phase is 120 degrees. The angle between Y and B is 120 degrees. And the angle between B and R is 120 degrees. If you see here, all are at 120, 120, 120 degrees. This is the vector diagram. By seeing this one also, we can say all has a 120 degrees apart. I think you can understand this one. So this is the vector diagram. All are 120 degrees. So as I told, all the vectors are at 120 degrees apart. And what we have the equations? We have the equations. Uh, so here all are 120 degrees. So what we have to do now? What we are going to do means we are producing the rotating magnetic field. So for that one, what we will consider? We will consider an angle of 0 degrees. At 0 degrees, we have the vectors pi r, pi y, and pi b. We have the vector equations also. So what we, for before designing, what we have to do? So how the rotating magnetic field is produced? First, we have to take when a uh, mm, when a stationary when a stator having stationary coils wound for two or three phases and are fed from two or three phase supply. That means suppose it is a two phase, it is supply from two phase, and it is three phase, it is supply from three phase. A uniform rotating magnetic field of constant magnitude is produced when we give this three phase supply. So how this three phase supply is produced? When a three phase supply is given to a three phase two pole winding, then what happens? Two poles are formed, and automatically the stator poles also formed. The three phases produces three sinusoidal rotating magnets here: pi r, pi y, pi b. What are these are the three. Each phase produces each flux, magnetic flux. This is by produced by R phase, this is produced by Y phase, this is produced by B phase, R, Y, B. So this is the flux produced. So that means each phase will produce each flux, magnetic flux, as shown in figure. That is pi r, pi y, pi b. Pi r is produced at 0 degrees, pi y is produced at 120 degrees, pi b is produced at 240 degrees. These are the equations. Pi m sine theta, pi m uh, sine theta minus 120, pi m sine theta minus 240. That is pi r, pi y, pi b. We have the three equations. So these three fluxes are represented as shown in figure. Now what we have to do? We have to take at different angles. Here I will show what is the angles. Here we have here. We have to take 0 degrees. What is the resultant flux? At 60 degrees, what is the resultant flux? At 120 degrees, what is the resultant flux? At 180 degrees, what is the resultant flux? At 240, resultant flux. Again at 300, what is the resultant flux? At 360. Again we will calculate the resultant flux. By reaching which equations? By using these equations. Pi r, pi y, and pi b. We'll put these angles here in these equations, and we will join these by using parallelogram law. By doing a vectorly, we will add these, then we will get the different at this angle 0 degrees, what is the resultant flux? At 60 degrees, what is the resultant flux? At 120, resultant flux. At 180, resultant flux. At 240, resultant flux. At 300, resultant flux. At 360, resultant flux. So what is pi m? So here pi m is the maximum flux which is produced by any of the flux. The three fluxes has the same magnetic flux. So suppose if we consider a three-phase, two-pole stator motor having three identical windings, A, S1, F1, as we see here, first slide we have here. Consider a three-phase two-pole, that is S1 starting, F1 finishing, again S2 starting, again F2 finishing, again F3 starting, S3 S3 starting, F3 finishing. See here S1, S2, S3 all are at 120 degrees apart. So as shown, and all are 120 degrees. And when we give the supply to this one, it produces the flux, which is shown here. Like this, the flux is produced. So the flux due to the current flowing in each phase winding is assumed to be sinusoidal and represented as shown in figure. And these are the equations. All are sinusoidal. That's why we written sine, sine, sine. And what is the maximum flux? That is the pi m. So that's why we written pi m, pi m, pi m. And the pi r is started at 0 degrees, pi y is started at 120, pi b is started at 240 degrees. So now we have to calculate what is pi r, pi y, pi b. These are the instantaneous values of the flux set up by the three-phase winding. We have to calculate the resultant flux pi r, which is the sum of these three, and a different angle, that is 0 degrees, 60 degrees, 120, 180, 240, 300 and 360. So let us consider at 0 degrees. This is the vector which are 120 degrees apart at 0 degrees. At 0 degrees we have three equations: pi r, pi y, pi b. So here what happened? What is the equation of pi r? Pi r is equal to pi m sine theta. What is sine 0 degrees? 0. So that means pi r is 0. And if you put the same thing here, 0, 0 minus 120. So that is minus root 3 by 2 pi m. What is pi b? Pi b is theta minus 240. That is 0 minus 240. Then it is root 3 by 2 pi m. So pi r is 0 here. What and the two vectors is pi b and pi y. Now we have to use these two vectors to get the resultant flux. How we can add these two? Here negative is there y. So now what we have to extend this into y, pi y in the 180 degrees like this, at exactly at the middle, pi y. Why? Because it is negative. And after extension this in the negative direction, we have to add these two, pi b and pi y here. Exactly, then the angle between these two, b and y, will be 60 degrees. Exactly in the middle. Why? Because we got negative. So we have to add these two by using parallelogram law. By using parallelogram law, we can add these two, pi b and pi y. Let us see in the next slide. So the resultant flux, how the resultant flux will be there. So this is the equation. Pi r is 0. This is the resultant flux. Pi y square root of, the root is for all, pi y square plus pi b square plus 2 pi y pi b cos theta, where theta is the angle between these two vector. As I told, pi r is 0. We have extend this in the negative direction, and the angle between these two is 60 degrees only. So then what happened? What is the pi y? Pi y is root 3 by 2 pi m whole square. So what is pi b? Root 3 by 2 pi m whole square plus 2 into pi m is root 3 by 2 pi m pi b also root 3 by 2 pi m, and cos 60 degrees. Cos 60 is 1 by 2. If you substitute here like this 2 and 2 get cancel. If you have the here we run the square. Root 3 square is 3, 2 square is 4, that is 3 by 2 pi m square. This one also same thing, root 3 by 2 square whole square, then 3 by 4 pi m square. So here 2 get cancelled. Here we have to multiply root 3 by 2 into root 3 by 2. That is 3 by 4. That is 3 by 4 plus 3 by 4 plus 3 by 4. Likewise. Then what happened? 9 by 4 pi m square under root. We have the root here. Then what happened is 3 by 2 pi m. What is 3 by 2? That is 1.5 pi m. So the resultant flux is when at 0 degrees. When it has 0 degrees, what is the resultant flux? The resultant flux is 1.5 times the maximum flux at 0 degrees. I hope this is understood everyone. So the resultant flux at 0 degrees 1.5 pi m. So next we can see at 60 degrees. So this is the vector diagram, how we can write. As I told, pi y is negative, we have to extend it, and the angle between B and Y is 60 degrees. And this is the resultant flux pi r. Next we can see when the angle is 60 degrees. When the angle is 60 degrees, that is here. Here what happened? Pi b is 0. That is 60 minus 240, that is sine 180 degrees is 0. So pi b is 0. So what is pi r? Pi r is root 3 by 2 pi m, and pi y is minus root 3 by 2 pi m. And if we add these two vectorially, we will get the resultant vector 1.5 times the maximum flux. Let us see how it will come. So this is the vector diagram. So here which one is negative? Y is negative. So again we have to extend this here. Here B is 0 degrees. So the combination of Y and R, that will gives the resultant vector. So that is the pi R, that is 1.5 times the resultant flux. The combination of pi Y and pi R. So this is the thing. So let us see how we can calculate. So this is the calculated. So when the angle is 60 degrees, so the same thing by using parallelogram law, that is square root of pi y square plus pi r square plus 2 into pi r pi y cos angle. That means the angle between pi r and pi y, that is 60 degrees. So pi y root 3 by 2 pi m whole square plus pi r root 3 by 2 pi m whole square plus 2 into root 3 by 2 pi m root 3 by 2 pi m, and cos 60 is 1 by 2. So if we add these things, we will get again 9 by 4 pi m square under root. So that is 3 by 2 pi m. So 3 by 2 means that is 1.5 times 1.5 pi m. So what is the resultant flux? The resultant flux is at this is at 60 degrees. At 60 degrees, the resultant flux in three-phase winding is 1.5 times the maximum flux. Again at 0 degrees, what is 1.5 pi m? At pi r also 1.5 times pi m. So let us see, 60 is over. Next is 120 degrees. At 120 degrees, what is the, again we substitute in this equation 120. So these are the vectors. So at 120 what happened? Pi y is 0. That is the flux between because of y is 0, and we have pi r and pi b. We have to make this as it is a negative. Pi b is here. We have to bring this in the negative depth like this here. I am showing this here like this here. So and we have to add this r and b, this here r and sorry r and B. If you add these two, R and B, we will have to get pi r. That is the resultant vector. Let us see at 120 degrees. What is this one? At 120 degrees, that is the addition of R phase and B phase. That is the same parallelogram law. The equation is pi r is equal to square root of pi b square plus pi r square plus 2 into pi b into pi r into cos theta. This is the angle between the R and B, that is 60 degrees. This is the same calculation, and we will get again 1.5 pi m. This is the angle at 120. So at 0 degrees, what is the resultant flux? That is 1.5 times the maximum flux. At 60 degrees, again the resultant flux is 1.5 times the resultant flux. Again at 120 degrees, the same thing, 1.5 times the resultant flux. Next we will see at next 120 degree, sorry, 180 degrees. When theta is 180 degrees, again substitute in the three equations pi r, pi b, pi y. So pi r sine 180 degrees is 0. Again this one is 0. Pi b is equal to minus root 3 by 2 pi m, and pi y is equal to root 3 by 2 pi m. Here b is negative. So what we have to do when b is negative? That means we have to extend this one in a negative direction. And we have to add y and b, y and b to get the resultant flux. Resultant flux. So that is when also 1.5 times of the resultant flux is 1 point times of the maximum flux. See here, yb is the reverse direction. It came like this, yb, pi b, pi y. If you add these two, we can get the resultant vector like this. This is at 180 degrees this here. Resultant flux is 180 degrees. Let us see the calculations. The resultant vector, the formula is same. Root 3 square root of pi r is equal to square root of pi y square plus pi b square plus 2 pi y pi b cos theta. Theta is 60 degrees. And the same thing we have used in the parallelogram law, and the resultant flux is nothing but a 1.5 times the pi m. So at 0 degrees, the resultant flux is 1.5 pi m. At 60 degrees, the resultant flux is 1.5 pi m, and at 120 degrees, 1.5 pi m, and 180 degrees, again same 1.5 pi m, and again at 120, 180 also it is 1.5 times the maximum flux. So next we can see at 240 degrees. So this is the vector diagram how we can draw, that is b and y. So y is negative, that's why we kept like this, and the angle between b and y is 60 degrees. B and y is 60 degrees, and this one is the resultant vector what we calculated for 180 degrees. Next we will calculate for 240 degrees. This is for 240 degrees. So when we substitute this, theta is equal to 240 in the three equations, we will get pi r is equal to minus root 3 by 2 pi m, pi y is equal to root 3 by 2 pi m positive, and pi b is 0. Here this pi b is 0. Pi b is equal to sine of theta minus 240, 240 minus 240, that is 0. Sine 0 is 0. This is one not there. So r phase is in the negative direction. We will bring like this. We have to add these two to get the resultant vector. So the resultant is 1.5 times the pi m. This is the vector diagram, pi y, and which is negative, r is negative. We have to bring like this. It will come like, see here, it came at like this, it came. So the angle between these two is 60 degrees. We have to add these two. We will get the resultant vector pi r, which is 1.5 pi m. Let us see. This is the calculation. So this is pi r is equal to square root of pi y square plus pi r square plus 2 pi y pi r cos theta, that is 60 degrees. And then the same thing we will get, the resultant flux is 1.5 times the pi m. So again the same, the resultant flux is same. At instant 0 degrees, the resultant flux is 1.5 times the maximum flux. At 60 degrees, 1.5 times the resultant flux. Again at 120 degrees, 1.5 times the resultant flux. At 180 degrees, 1.5 times the resultant flux. At 240 degrees also, 1.5 times the maximum flux. 240 is over. Next one is at 300 degrees. When it is 300 degrees, substitute this theta is equal to 300 in the pi r, then we will get sine 300, that is minus root 3 by 2 pi m, and pi y is 0 and pi b is equal to root 3 by 2 pi m. Then the resultant flux is 1.10. That means y is 0. What we have, the pi r, again the pi r is negative. Here we have to bring like this, and the combination of pi b and pi r gives the resultant vector. See here, pi r in the negative direction, pi b, and these two, if you add these two, pi b and pi r, the angle between these two is 60, and this is the resultant vector. So let us see the calculation. So this is the calculation for 300. Pi r is equal to square root of pi b square plus pi r square plus 2 pi b pi r cos theta. The cos theta is the angle between r and b, that is 60 degrees. Again by using parallelogram law, the resultant vector is same, that is 1.5 times the maximum flux. So 0 degrees, same value 1.5 pi m. 60 degrees, resultant flux is same, 1.5 pi m. At 120 degrees, 1.5 pi m. At 180 degrees, 1.5 pm. At 240 degrees, 1.5 tm. At 300 degrees, again 1.5 pm. Next let us see at 360 degrees. So substitute these 360 value in the pi r equations, pi r, pi y, pi b. If you substitute in these equations, so here if you see pi r is 0, so that is, this is 0. Pi y is negative, then what happened? We have to extend this into negative direction. This is the vector diagram. Pi y in the negative direction, pi b is as it is, and these two, the angle between these two is 60 degrees. Why? Pi y, it is extended into 180 degrees. Why? Because it is negative. And adding these two, pi b and pi y, we will get resultant flux as pi r. Okay. And let us see the calculation resultant flux. The same parallelogram law we have to use, the square root of pi y square plus pi b square plus 2 pi b pi by pi b cos theta. This is the equation by using parallelogram law, and the resultant flux is 1.5 pi m. So at all angles at 0 degrees, at instant of 0 degrees, and instant of 60 degrees, at instant of 120, at instant of 180, at instant of 240, at instant of 300, at instant of 360. At all these instants, the resultant flux is same. What is that value? That is 1.5 times the maximum flux, that is 1.5 into pi m. So all at any instant, the resultant flux is same. That is 1.5 times the pi m. So this is the vector diagram. Pi m is reverse, pi y is reverse, and pi b. If we add these two, pi b and pi y, vectorially, then the resultant flux pi r is 1.5 times the pi m. So this is the phasor diagram, how it is comes at 0 degrees. The resultant vector at 60 degrees, at 120 degrees, at 180 degrees, at 240 degrees, at 300, at 0 degrees, 60 degrees, 120 degrees, 180 degrees, 240 degrees, 300 degrees, and it is 360 degrees. At all these things, this is the resultant vector. If you see, the resultant vector also rotating like this. Every instant, the resultant vector is rotating like this. The resultant vector is rotating. Hence, we give the conclusion that the resultant flux is constant value. What is that value? 1.5 times the maximum flux. Pi r is at any instant. If you take 45 degrees, 90 degrees, or 120, 110 degrees, 150, at any angle 200, the resultant flux is same. That is 1.5 times the, and it is rotated. The flux is rotated, resultant flux also rotating, but it is rotating at a synchronous speed. What is the synchronous speed? 120 f by p. So let us see the graphical representation of this one like this. This is a wonderful figure where it shows how the resultant flux is flowing and the motor is rolling. See here, the flux are, these are the one phase R, starting and finishing. This is yellow, blue, starting and finishing. See here, dot and cross, dot and cross. What is the meaning of dot? The dot shows the direction of the current. Dot means the current is entering. Cross means the current is leaving. This is the current, how it is flowing in R phase, Y phase, and in the blue phase. How it is rotating, and how the rotor of the rotor is rotating. The rotor is rotating in anti-clockwise direction, and if you see here, this is rotating in clockwise. Stator poles are rotating at a clockwise direction. So that means direction also changes. Now it is, see here, dot. Now it changes into cross. Again it will change to dot. Yes. Dot, cross, like this. See here, it is changes. When the, according to this pole, when it is crossing the M and A, that is magnetic neutral axis, when the rotor poles are rotating or crossing the magnetic neutral axis, then automatically the current direction in the stator poles also rotate, changes. It is dot cross, it is rotating, and this is the current direction in different phase, phase A, phase B, phase C, how it is rotating. Is a very beautiful picture. It is showing in animation how the stator poles, north pole and south pole. This one is the rotor winding. This one is the stator poles, north and south pole. These are the winding, rotor winding. It is wounded like this, rotated like around the poles. It is rotated winding. This one is the stator part. We have the stator winding, three-phase winding, and three-phase winding. The current direction also changes. Start dot, start dot. This is the current flowing direction. How the current is flowing. So rotating flux. So as we see here, it every direction, the direction of the resultant flux also changes at 0 degrees, at 60, at 120, at 180, at 240, 300 and 360. This is the figure A, and this shows the vectors which are 120 degrees apart, R, Y, B. So arrows and everything shows the 0 and the positive direction. And in this selection, what we conclude? What is rotating magnetic field? We learned what is rotating magnetic field, how it is rotating. When we give the supply to a three-phase stator winding, then a current starts to flows through the winding and it produces a flux. pi r, pi y, pi b. And how it is produced, and what is the mathematical equation for that one, that is resultant flux is 1.5 times the maximum flux. Thank you. If you have any doubt, read this, go through this presentation and read it. If you have any doubt, we can clarify in the next class. Thank you.